Welcome back. You're watching Startup Central with me, Nayantara Rai, the only show of its kind dedicated to startups, entrepreneurship, technology, innovation, disruption. Stay in touch with us. Our email address right on top, suc@etnow.tv. You can also reach out to me on Twitter. Talking of disruption and startups, here's a Stylecracker that is trying to disrupt the fashion market. I first found out about Stylecracker actually on social media, where I saw how a lot of my friends were getting boxes with this Stylecracker branding, and they were trying out new scarves and accessories, belts, you name it. Then we found out that Alia Bhatt was so impressed that she actually put money into this startup called Stylecracker. They raised more money since then, and it's really to try and help all of you either stay in your comfort zone and figure out what it is that works for you, or talk to your stylist and figure out what it is that you can experiment with and get away with. Here's more about Stylecracker. They're in conversation with my colleague Avandabash.
Now, who wouldn't like their very own personal stylist? With different fashion and styling needs and changing trends, most of us don't get that chic business or date look that we're looking for. So that's where Stylecracker comes in, curating boxes of apparel, accessories, beauty and other items. Let's bring on board then the co-founder and managing director Dhimaan Shah, who joins in to talk about their recent fundraise as well as growth plans. Dhimaan, thanks so much for being with us on Startup Central. Now, the sphere that you're operating in, it seems like the millennial hunt for curated experiences is really powering the rise for these kind of subscription boxes where personalization is driving this kind of a subscription-led consumption. Wouldn't you agree?
I think that is true to a great extent. What's exciting and interesting though is that it's not just millennials, right? So 60% of our users, for example, are in the age group of 25 to 35, right? These are working women, they're young mothers, many times they're both. I think it's interesting, and it's interesting because they want convenience above all else, right? And I think what's exciting is that we are not a subscription business, neither are we a box business per se. We are the personal stylist to every Indian and to every fashion consumer. So it happens to be delivered to you in a box, but we work across categories with our customers to ensure that they get what works for them across apparel, beauty, the whole entire gamut of basically fashion and beauty. So the growth is tremendous, right? There are so many tailwinds behind you anyway, which makes it even more awesome, right? You have we have this, I keep saying, we have this amazing marriage of aspiration and affluence, right? The more and more India is becoming affluent, the more aspirational they're becoming, and that kind of virtuous cycle keeps getting quicker and quicker, faster and faster, and that makes the tailwinds for business like ours very strong. So as long as you execute properly and efficiently and honestly, more importantly, I think we'll continue to keep growing.
So let's wind the clock back. You were an investment banker in New York. What made you leave the corporate life and start your own business?
Loved it, actually. As one of the few people I know who love being an investment banker. But I think the satisfaction of building something of your own, building it from scratch, and being able to directly touch the lives of so many consumers, I think which is far more exciting. Again, I'm sure different strokes for different folks, but I think right now I'm in a very happy place.
So let's understand how Stylecracker works. There's the personalized fashion boxes, which are curated by celebrity stylists. And then there's the Stylecracker Burrow, which is essentially a one-stop shop for all fashion enthusiasts. So what percentage of the business is the boxes and what percentage is the Burrow?
Right. So we're more or less a big data and analytics company. What we do is we happen to be operating in the fashion space. But we are much more a technology company than we are a pure play fashion company. What we do is very simply, we use several hundred data points about our customers to curate fashion for them across categories. So be it apparel, beauty, footwear, bags, jewelry, across all categories. Right? We have our own proprietary algorithm and learning algorithm. So we invested a lot in machine learning. We're moving into the early stages of AI as well. And what we do is, like I said, we are able to really style millions of Indians. So we're able to take personal styling and do it at scale. And that again is really the future of fashion consumption and the way people look at fashion, right? Your fashion as a category is consumed very, very differently from any other category. You don't want more choice. Actually, you don't need to see 100 products to decide what you want. You can actually curate the best items for a customer if you do use a lot of data and of course a little bit of a human touch. And I guess that's where our personal celebrity stylists come in as well. Once a user is styled by our algorithms, right, it doesn't get shot out and sent to the users directly. It's then assigned to a celebrity stylist who then also speaks with the user to add that human layer on top. So it's almost a perfect marriage of, you know, technology as well as human interaction in a very scalable manner. And that's what essentially our business does. What we do is we also have an on-ground business, an offline business. We actually own what's India's biggest fashion IP. It's called the Stylecracker Burrow. We do it in a weekend format. Nearly 30,000 people come out to it over a weekend. It's fun. You have stylists on ground. You have some of the coolest brands that we've, you know, curated from across the country for you as a customer. We have music, so it's a great vibe. It's a great place to be. You know, our online business, of course, our personal styling business online is far more scalable and, you know, already, you know, accounts for nearly 80% of revenues, while our on-ground business accounts for, you know, nearly 20% of our revenue.
Now, congratulations on the latest fundraise. I understand that it's US-based family office fund, AMJ Ventures. They've invested about $2 million. What is it that you will be using the funds towards? And then, of course, you've also got celebrity Alia Bhatt and a clutch of other investors who've put in money. So what is the current shareholding?
Sure. So, thank you. And we're very excited to have AMJ on. They're a great, you know, family office fund, which is great because they sit very nicely in the middle of being professional investors as well as being a little more patient capital, since they're a family fund. So, you know, together while we were brainstorming with AMG about the way forward, right, I think the way we'll be using our funds primarily will be to build a deeper moat on the personalization front. Like I said, fashion and the consumption of fashion is actually so data driven that if you really truly understand the way a consumer is actually going to be purchasing fashion and interacting with fashion, right, it can be solved through data and through deep data. So we are going to be, you know, using a substantial amount of the funds towards building that further deepening our capabilities around personalization and building a moat around that. The second thing, of course, will be to, you know, be much more of a pan-India brand, invest in brand building, marketing, advertising, and I think those will be our two large buckets. Of course, there are smaller things also that we're doing. For example, we've quickly outgrown our warehouse and, you know, all our logistics and all of that, so we will be upgrading a lot of those facilities as well. Yes, we have existing investors in you know, in the form of Alia, as well as a lot of, you know, very high quality individual investors. All our investors have chosen to remain invested even in this round. We will, you know, so the shareholding pattern, of course, the founders continue to own a substantial majority stake in the company, with AMJ, Alia, and a clutch of other investors holding, you know, either minority stakes or substantial minority stakes.
So on average, how many boxes per day do you manage to ship? And how does tech and analytics work in curating these boxes? Where do the stylists come in? How many repeat customers do you have?
So we're styling about 100,000, over 100,000 people in a year. We are, it's growing very rapidly. So we have a, you know, a CAGR of about 150%. This year, we're well on track to, you know, have a CAGR of about 250%, nearly, actually closer to 300%. So we're very excited about our growth. The beauty about our business, and this is something that we have been really, call it strict about, but we've been sticklers about, is ensuring that at an operational level we are profitable or at least break even. The great news is we've been operationally profitable all the way since January this year. And our margins and, you know, our operational efficiencies are only getting better. And the other, you know, lovely thing about our business and the beautiful thing about our business is as we grow, right, our technology just gets that much smarter, right? That is how machine learning or even artificial intelligence eventually works, right? Is that basis the data that keeps coming in, right? Be it in by way of consumer data, be it by way of exchange data, be it by way of anything, right? Any amount of data that keeps coming in, the system just keeps getting smarter and smarter, and you take that data to further sharpen your learnings. Our learning and our data, big data, analytics, and the way we're actually using that data is just getting better and better with time. To give you context, our exchange rates, that means out of every 1,000 products that ship out of our warehouses, right, our exchange rates are now sub 12%, right, which is literally less than a third of what typical fashion platforms do. And that's because we have such deep learning happening at the through technology and with our consumers. So our repeat user rate is now at 55%. That is very, very high in compared to the rest of the industry. To give you context, when we began this business, our repeat user rate was between 7 to 10%. The next year it became 15 to 20%, and we're now at 55%. And our repeat user rate just keeps getting better and better. So our cohort becomes stronger and stronger. And again, this finally feeds back into a deeper learning, better unit economics, and again, that virtuous cycle is starting to move very quickly for us now.
So, Dhimaan, what about financials? When did you turn operationally profitable? You mentioned you're set to hit the 500 crore rupee revenue mark by 2020. What is your current revenue run rate?
Right. So we are we aim to be, like you said, we are operationally profitable. We have been that since January of this year, of 2019. We are growing very rapidly. As I mentioned, we're going to be growing at a CAGR of about 250% this year. We believe that by the end, but over the next couple years, we will definitely be a solid $100 million company by revenue, and we will be cash flow positive and operationally profitable. So it's all very exciting.
So there's quite a bit of competition as well in this category. You've got, the big retail behemoths, the online platforms. So what sets you apart? Isn't it tough surviving in a fairly competitive, highly crowded industry like fashion?
So, we don't see too much competition from your horizontal players or your standalone, call them fashion retailers, simply because we're not in that business, right? We're not in the business of cataloging with filters, right? So if you look at any of the typical horizontal players or your, even your vertical fashion players, right? What they are fundamentally are cataloging companies, right? Which have filters on top. So they aggregate and then they throw on filters which the customer can actually choose. Okay, I want white, I want size small, and I want this, and they'll just show you 100 options, right? That's not our business. We are a personal styling platform. So we don't really have too much competition actually in this space. We are built on deep data, deep learning, a lot of ML and AI, and our entire business, not just on the consumer front, but even the way we take these learnings and drive it back up the supply chain are very, very unique. So we don't see too much headwinds from competition. But having said that, we are obviously hyper aware and hyper cued in to what the rest of the market is doing.